Before we get into this episode of Here's Why, we have a couple reasons why you should check out our sponsor Current's Premium Black Card. Reason number one, when you set up your direct deposit with the online app, it will allow you to get your money 2 days earlier than usual. Reason number two, it's free for iPhone and Android users. Reason number three, no hidden fees. Reason number four, there's no minimum balance, so don't worry if you're just starting off. And reason number five, get notifications to let you know about your money in your account. Again, Current is a banking app meant to help modernize your banking experience for those in the United States. So imagine that you might be laughing at reruns of Malcolm and Eddie on TV and finally decide to catch Eddie Griffin live the next time he was in your city. So instead of having to wait the last minute to buy your ticket because of direct deposit, Current can help you make that purchase a few days earlier. Now, let's get into the latest episode of Here's Why. When it comes to the history of the television sitcom, having two characters coming from completely different backgrounds has always been a common practice. This is a sitcom model that UPN had in mind when they decided to move forward with their version of what they described as an urban odd couple, starring Malcolm Jamal Warner from The Cosby Show and Def Comedy Jam breakout star Eddie Griffin. Malcolm was the responsible one, while Eddie was the one who always got the two into trouble. The series followed them as they shared an apartment in Kansas City and became co-owners of the bar they lived above. Now, despite the on-screen chemistry that the two had built, it was later revealed that the sitcom's leading stars were only good friends on camera, as they didn't get along in real life. Behind the scenes, both Malcolm and Eddie would get into fights with the show's writers, producers, and even each other about the type of show they wanted to make. Here's why Malcolm and Eddie came to an end. Malcolm and Eddie would premiere on August 26, 1996 on the new and emerging UPN network. The series, created by writer and comedian Joe Madison, would come from a development deal Eddie Griffin landed at the time. I watched his first HBO special. Yeah, he was super dirty, but gosh, he was funny as hell. He had great timing. All he had to do was not say those words and he still would be funny. Malcolm Jamal Warner stated that his agent got him over to the series as a part of a package deal where Warner would star, produce, and occasionally direct. Warner thought the producers brought him over because of his experience with non-stereotypical black comedy, and he assumed that Malcolm and Eddie would have a similar style as The Cosby Show. You see, The Cosby Show became groundbreaking because it steered clear of the negative stereotypes in the black community. It showed what a black family could look like at its best, and for 8 entire seasons, Warner would help push that narrative on NBC. They really didn't care about my experience. They really didn't care what I had to say about how to do a show about black people and not be stereotypical. It was like, damn my sensibilities and my vision for the show, they were trying to get ratings. Warner would go on to say he was grateful to have a job, but he struggled to find ways to protect his brand. He also said that while he was on the set of The Cosby Show, he watched Dr. Cosby constantly send writers back to the drawing board and have them come up with something new. He would also reveal that Cosby constantly reminded writers of the type of show he wanted to create, and Warner tried to use the same tactics on the set of Malcolm and Eddie. Malcolm and Eddie is not my proudest work, and the gap between and what stereotypical shows are and where I wanted the show to be was a huge gap. Much to the surprise of everyone, Malcolm revealed that the filming of Malcolm and Eddie was during a miserable time in his life. I had gone from everything Cosby had represented. I had come from a show that made history, that showed black people could be funny without being stereotypical. Then I got over to UPN, where all of UPN's programming was stereotypical black people. So for me, it felt like going from a top university to a junior college. Jamal Warner would tell radio show Sway in the Morning in 2018 that he would try to convince the writers of Malcolm and Eddie to write more highbrow humor, similar to The Cosby Show, but the writers wouldn't budge. In the same interview, Warner also revealed that he and Eddie Griffin did not get along during production. According to Warner, he and Eddie Griffin had two different schools of life. Malcolm added that he and Eddie learned quickly that they could still work and have respect for one another, but not necessarily be best friends. Early into filming the first season of the show, Warner decided to pick up music as an additional hobby to get his mind off the stressful work environment. I first started playing bass in the first season of Malcolm and Eddie. I picked up bass because working with Eddie Griffin was stressing the bejesus out of me. I needed a hobby. Last fall, Warner would stop by People TV's Couch Surfing series, where he would further elaborate on the situation. There was so much fighting that I did on the show with writers, producers, and the studio. There was a particular vision they had for the show that was different from the vision I had for the show. In 2015, Malcolm and Eddie creator Joel Madison would also confirm that the behind-the-scenes drama became the reason why he would ultimately leave the show. It was the worst of all sitcom experiences, one of those things where everybody was trying to run the thing. It appears that Warner and Griffin had two different styles of humor that didn't always organically match. Eddie Griffin often played into racial cliches and stereotypes for laughs. I mean, you're putting the school of Bill Cosby and the school of Richard Pryor together as a team, so there were often creative conflicts. But wherever we were, eye to eye wise, every single show, we'd get together, put our hands together, and we'd pray. According to Griffin, life on set wasn't easy for him either. In 2015, Eddie Griffin spoke with Vlad TV, where he also revealed that he often disagreed with the writers of Malcolm and Eddie. Griffin stated that out of the 14 writers of the show, only 2 were black. Griffin explained that the white writers had no idea what it was like to be a young black male. So when the table read comes, me and Malcolm have to tweak the script, but we're not getting writing credit. I'm ad-libbing to try to save the show because what you're giving me is doo-doo. On top of a stressful work environment, things would only get more severe. During rehearsals, Eddie ended up suffering from a heart attack. I had a heart attack that wasn't from stress, that was from pork. I wake up with a bacon sandwich for lunch, then I was smoking cigarettes and coffee on top of that. I had no idea my arteries were clogged. We were on set of Malcolm and Eddie, and I had a heart attack. I was dead for a minute and 20 seconds. Then it hit me with the jumper cables. The heart attack would take place during a dance rehearsal for Malcolm and Eddie. Griffin said he remembered a sharp pain in his body, and the next thing he knew, he was fighting for breath. Luckily, he would survive and would later get an angioplasty to clear his blocked artery. Now, despite the backstage drama on set, the series remained popular enough to run for 4 seasons. The series became so popular that hip-hop artist Coolio landed a deal with UPN to star in a spin-off of Malcolm and Eddie. The show would have centered around a stay-at-home dad, played by Coolio, who was married to a dental hygienist, the breadwinner of the family. The pilot was going to be directed and executive produced by Malcolm Jamal Warner. Unfortunately, the show was not picked up, and Malcolm and Eddie was canceled the following year due to declining ratings. Now, despite the backstage antics that went on, Malcolm and Eddie remains popular and a missed sitcom, so the fact that the 2 stars didn't get along during production is surprising. The different comedy styles of the 2 leading actors and constant battles with writers and executives made it a tough environment to remain consistent. In the 4 seasons, we ran through 3 executive producers, and by the last season, the executive producer just had enough, and when he walked out, I knew that was it. And check out Current, the links below.